Hello.
Hello, Nathan. Good to see you.
Yes. I think we're live now, right?
We should be live now,
Cool.
Facebook and YouTube.
All right. I think YouTube and Facebook. Yeah. So welcome everyone at the Beerwulf live tasting party with Stone. We're Beerwulf very happy to do tastings like this. Of course, we love beer. This is a great way to discover beer and find out more about the background story of the beer. My name is Nathan. I'm a beer specialist for Beerwulf. And with me is Moritz. I don't know what side. Moritz. And first on, he's going to guide us through the tasting. So, Moritz, can you introduce yourself?
Yeah, hello from my side as well. I'm Moritz, based here in Germany, but representing Stone Brewing from the US here in Europe. And I'm happy to be here with you guys today and to share some awesome beers with you and Nathan from Beerwulf.
Great. We have a competition, right?
Yes, we do have a competition as well. We just posted it like 30 minutes ago into the Facebook event page as well. So take a look now, take a look later, but I'll give you a quick rough description of what we want to do with you, because we've got all set up our beers and we want to see your setup of your beer tasting situation as well. So feel free to take a picture of your tasting situation and bring it on, post it on Instagram, tag at Beerwulf.com and tag at Stone Brewing Europe, and we will pick a winner into next 48 hours. The chance to win this awesome merch package over here.
Oh, wow. I cannot win it, right? How you're sitting with your friends and posting your Instagram story. So Stone tasting, what are we actually going to do? Stone is famous with their IPAs, so tonight we're going to taste 4 of their IPAs. It's going to be a little bit a multimedia show with short videos about the beers and about Stone, of course. And so when you see a video about a specific beer, that's the moment to open your beer, pour the beer. It's going to be a short video, and then me and Moritz going to talk about the beer. And of course, that's the moment for you guys to ask your questions about the beer, about Stone, and we will answer it on that moment. And please share those questions. Please do ask those questions. It makes it more interesting. So Moritz, kick off. Okay, we want to see some information about Stone.
Yes, right. We're going to start with a little introduction to Stone Brewing on where we started back 24 years now, back in 1996. Just 3 minutes to give you a quick overview about our company, Stone Brewing from the US. Cheers, guys.
So Stone Brewing's been around since 1996, started by 2 very cool guys, Steve Wagner and Greg Cook. We really were among the pioneer breweries that were doing our own thing, making what we wanted to make. Steve and Greg found this little place in San Marcos, actually down the road from where I'm sitting right now. We started out in this little tiny warehouse space, and first year of production sold a whopping 400 barrels of delicious craft beer. But yeah, far cry from what we are today and how big we are, but those were the initial steps. So what inspires us here at Stone, and what are we all about? What's our past and our present and future like? I mean, it may sound simple, but we're about really good beer. Whether that be with traditional ingredients or new ingredients that we find, we're always pushing the envelope to try new things, to do new things. At the same time, we're a very, very hop-focused brewery. We're one of the earliest, breweries to really do IPA on a big scale. And that beer has become our mainstay. And obviously we do, not just one IPA these days, but several. There's so much we can do with different hops. So that continues to be a big part of our innovation. But also at the same time, You know, we're always looking at different and new ingredients, different types of yeast. A lot of things can inspire us, and we're always open-minded to that. Our owners, Greg and Steve, have always been that way as well. I think it's a big part of our success story as a brewery. So we're lucky here at Stone. We're in beautiful Southern California. At least the original, or we like to say the mothership brewery, is here in Escondido, which is North County of San Diego. So we're about 30 miles north of central San Diego, downtown. We're very fortunate to be in an area that's really in tune with craft. We have another brewery here in town too that's actually right by downtown, pretty close to the airport, and that's our Stone Liberty Station spot. And we do have a little 10-barrel brewery there, and we do a lot of cool experimentation and a lot of fun different styles out of that brewery. We also have another brewery up in Napa, again a smaller brewery, but right in the middle of wine country, right? Napa Valley, the famous wine country in the United States. It's a great area. A lot of people actually finish their days wine tasting and want a beer. So that's been fun. And then a few years ago, we opened another brewery. This is a bigger brewery in Richmond, Virginia. So the idea was we wanted to have a brewery on the other coast. Here we are in San Diego on the West Coast, but we wanted something on the East Coast. And that way we can get fresh beer quicker to that side of the country and some of our exporting as well. So Richmond, Virginia, we have a really nice, modern, upscale, high technology brewery we're very proud of. So it's kind of nice to have some different sized breweries, different things that we can do. We've got a little pilot brewery here in Escondido as well. So it allows us to do a lot of different things and innovation with our beers. Cheers.
Wow, that was a nice introduction, I think, about Stone. That was, what is the name? Steve Monnier? Jeremy, of course. I think you're on mute. I can't hear you.
Now we are back. Here we are. Yeah, it's Jeremy Monnier, one of our two brewmasters, or one of several, but one of our senior brewmasters back in the US. We will hear from him later on as well.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, we'll see more of them. I think we also have a nice kickoff from Greg, one of the founders, of course, of Stone.
Exactly. We are getting thirsty, so let's start the tasting, and some quick words by Greg Koch, our co-founder, to get the tasting started.
Hi, Greg Cook here, co-founder of the Stone Brewing Company. You know, it's no secret that we love IPAs at Stone. In fact, we helped pioneer what's now known around the world as the West Coast IPA style. In fact, we were the first brewery on the planet to full-time brew and bottle a West Coast style double IPA. We are enormously proud of our legacy of brewing IPAs at Stone, and really stoked that this style of beer is now enjoyed around the world. Even more stoked that you get to enjoy our beers that we brewed here in the US over in Europe. So we have 4 different IPAs to take you on a journey with today, and we're glad you're here with us. So come on along, and the best one to tell you about these beers that we're going to taste, well, it's actually not me. It's our talented brewing team. So with that, I'm going to pass it over to them, and I will see you shortly. Again, thanks for joining us.
Lovely words, Greg. Well, I think that's cool. We have to all, there's a whole brewing team, of course, behind Stone, and I think they're just the beers along with you, Molly. So I'm getting through. I'm not sure about you, but I want to crack a beer. So
I'm so ready to crack a beer. So the first one we're gonna have today, Stone Never Ending Haze.
I love the can for starters.
And I love the sound of a cracking can.
Oh.
So guys, I hope you're pouring your beers as well. Get in the glass to see that lovely, nice haze. It's getting dark in here, so not that much color visible, but you get that tangy, orangey haze that we want to have in a hazy IPA.
It is hazy. I smell a lot of citrus, orange.
Definitely citrus, orange peel, a little bit of grapefruit, sweet tropical. So guys, while you're enjoying the first sips, why don't we hear our brewmaster from the US, what they will tell us about the beer.
A really good one.
So as you can see, it's a little bit darker than a lot of our IPAs, but also very, very hazy, which is very deliberate. We included some roasted malts just to give it a little bit more body, and also a lot of oats as well. Very juicy aroma. We really wanted to hit 4% alcohol, but also still give you some kind of weight behind it, so you get some more of that mouthfeel, and it still tastes like a killer beer. The fruit flavors really shine through on this.
And I think that, coupled with, we're using Mosaic and Citra hops here, which are, favorites of ours. Really fell in love with these hops a few years back. Those two hops are really fruity. Combined, they're just kind of a monster of fruit, and it kind of adds that juiciness as well. Yeah. I get some like grapefruit and pineapple, and this definitely has a dryness to it. And even though the bitterness is low, it does have just a little bit of bitter kick in the back. So kind of pretty different than I would say your typical hazy beers are. So definitely unique in that aspect, which I think is really cool. We're real excited about this beer, so I can't wait to hear what you guys think. And again, with the label, it's kind of everything's coming together on this one. So we're really stoked and excited. Cheers, Steve. Awesome job.
Man, I would love to drive that van up to the West Coast in the US. It looks great. You're still on mute.
Here we go. Yeah, I would love to as well. Drive up the West Coast, hit the waves, surf along on the Pacific Ocean, and just enjoy.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I think that's all about it with this can design. So we have a hazy IPA. I think the cool thing about this is it's more orange. I think a lot of hazy IPAs these days are more lighter. Gives maybe a little bit more body. What's that?
So yeah, with the never-ending haze, actually, we try to incorporate different kind of movements in the IPA segment nowadays. IPAs are so widespread nowadays, you can't define one kind of IPAs. IPAs are so diverse nowadays, and that's what we wanted to play with. So we have a 4% session strength IPA, which means we're going way down with the ABV to have a lovely summer session vibe, to make it more easy accessible, more drinkable, but in the same time putting in the same amount of hops to give you that bursting and intense fruitiness from the hops that you want to taste in an IPA, of course.
Yeah. And there's this big kick in the back where I really do like it. Sometimes with this hazy IPA, it's almost no bitters these days, but this one actually has a nice bitter finish as well. Is that something like what Stone really wants to put in a beer?
Yes, we love hops, we love bitterness. That's what we are coming from. We don't like to have it that juicy, orange juicy, low bitterness perception. It's just not for us what makes a beer punchy and balanced. You need to find the right balance between your malt bill and the bitterness perceived from the hops. So we do go here around 35 IBUs, which is a little below the regular IPA, but quite above your regular New England IPA styles. So right in the middle. But yeah, we still have the juicy body from a New England IPA and the bitterness from a West Coast IPA. So take it as kind of a hybrid.
Yeah, I think that's the thing about this one. That it's, I mean, for the 35 IBUs, not super high, but especially for a 4% beer, session strength. Yeah, I think that's this perfect balance. Exactly what you just mentioned. With this beer, it's fermented with a West Coast. No, it's not a West Coast yeast strain, obviously, because it's pretty hazy. What did you use?
Yes, I already started to talk about. We wanted to try and implement different movements of the current craft beer world. So we did ferment this beer with quake yeast. Quake is a Norwegian term that basically means yeast, but it's a sort of specific yeast strain category. We do use the Voss quake. It's coming from northern Norway, from the farmhouse breweries up there in Norway. And quake yeasts are basically the first dried yeasts that's been around for centuries up there in Norway, and now being picked up by the craft beer movement. And the specialty about those quake yeasts are they're top fermented. And usually top fermenting yeasts, they work around at 18 to 20, 22, 25 degrees. For fermentation, but the quake yeasts, you can pitch them at really, really high temperatures. So you can go from 25 up to 40 degrees, and the higher you pitch the yeast, the quicker the fermentation happens. So if we would pitch the yeast into our beer at around 40 degrees fermentation temperature, the beer would be ready in 2 to 3 days. But as a side effect, it would also create a lot of byproducts that are caused by fermentation. So a lot of estery notes. So you need to find the right balance between fermenting at too high temperatures or fermenting at a little bit too cold fermentations. So with Voss Quake here, we are going around in the middle, around 30 degrees to give to give free those estery, citrus, and orangey notes that we can already smell in the nose, but also to have a clean, good tasting body.
This beer, because you would expect from a beer like this that all the fruity notes from the hops. But is it true that it's actually also from the yeast? Is in this case the citrusy note from the quake yeast?
Absolutely, yeasts are way too underappreciated in the brewing world, or well, at least the brewers know that yeast can develop a lot of fruity flavors as well. So yes, it's a combination of the fruity esters from the yeast and then the classic hop bill of Mosaic and Citra. So two very, very famous and juicy West Coast hops that give a lot of those tropical fruitness and orange and citrus as well. Yeah. It's just working perfectly in balance, and that's what we always want to achieve in a beer, to have the perfect balance between hops, yeast, barley, to have a good beer, basically.
Yeah, I think for this one, it's well done. I think the quake, especially the quake yeast, it's an interesting story because. Yeah, I think what you just said in Brewers World, it's an upcoming yeast and everyone is really fond of it and how it works. But is it right I don't see it on a can?
Sorry again.
Is it right that the usage of the quake yeast, that I don't see it anywhere on a can?
Yeah, we don't have it on the can because we don't put the focus on the ingredients, on the yeast. We do mention it on our website, but for the can, it's not that relevant because in the end, the can is only the container for the beer. We do want to have the full focus on the beer. The beer should taste and should convince you, and not what's written on the can. I know you can play a little puns on the can with some text. We like to do this by time as well, but basically go try the beer and see what it's all about. And then you can read up the story on the beer, on the web pages, on the socials as well. No need to put all the info on the cans.
Yeah, that's true. And there's a flavor description on the can, what you can expect, more or less. And then it's up to you, of course, as a drinker to see what it is. I see a lot of comments coming in about a lot of stuff, not about Stone. We noticed all your comments. If you have a comment about something else than this tasting, please send us a direct message and we'll take care of it. If anyone else has a question about this specific beer, this is the time to ask it. I mean, what do you mean? Oh, there's the first question from Pete. What do you mean by dank in the tasting note? Where does it come from?
Yes, dankness is a term that's really related to fresh hops. I don't know if you guys ever had some hops. We're now here in Germany in the hop harvesting season again. So if you are close to a hop farm, just go there. Ask if you can get some fresh hops or see if there are events with fresh hops around. Get a hop cone, rub it in your hands, and then just smell it, and you'll get this dankness. It's the very, very fresh aromatic compounds of the oil. So you have the hop oils in your cone, and these are giving this dankness. It's hard to describe. Some people even compare it to wheat because basically hops are part of the cannabis family. So it's related in terms, and it's giving this very, very intense dank hoppiness. It's a fresh, hop, juicy. Some people call it even wet hops. It's hard to describe. You need to smell it, and that's best done if you have a fresh beer.
I think that when people say dank, that they say, "What, man, this beer is dank," and everyone kind of feels what it is, but it's not really specific. It's super hoppy or something. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know what the weather is at you, but with me it's pouring rain all day, but still it tastes fine. I mean, I can imagine that this is perfect.
Yeah, I'm going back to summer now because we had it was dry today, but this beer gives you the summer vibes, and I'm looking back like 2 months when I was outside at the swimming pool. And this is basically, it's delivering the West Coast vibes over here to Europe as well. The surf culture from around San Diego, the Baja California down in Mexico. That's what we wanted to try to implement in this beer. The fresh, basically the sun from California coming over here to Europe.
Well, it happened to Scotland because it's very sunny in Scotland. Well, when you have this beer in sunny Scotland, well, that should be amazing.
And yes, I could drink this all day. The 4% it's easy, but it doesn't taste that light. We still have that body, the oats and the wheat malts give a good body, a creaminess, and then the hops. It's all coming together for a really, really nice sessionable beer.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I think what's sometimes a session beer, after this we're gonna try another sessionish beer, but sometimes it lacks body or balance, and I think this has go. I think, I mean, as we come with sessionable from YouTube, I love the bold hop it. Yeah, well, that's exactly what I mean. Is there's enough hops in there, but also balance out with the rest of the beer, and I think great job. As expected for me, to be honest.
Yes, this beer was basically only released this year. It's part of our pilot series, which means we do have a pilot brewing kit in Escondido, and Steve Gonzalez, our small batch brewer, is running it. He's testing a lot of brews over there, and all those brews are keg only for our tap rooms in Southern California. And then if we are convinced by the recipe and the customers are convinced as well, then the beer might make it into a can for the next season. And that's what happened with the Never Ending Haze. So they started on the pilot brewing kit and is now available nationwide in the US and also over here in Europe. So I always love if a beer comes out of the brewing kit and makes it to the bigger stage.
So there's a question from Jills from YouTube. Have you considered the bitterness and I forgot the GU rate? Bitterness unit and the, do you know the GU rate again?
I don't know what she's meaning, or he. It's a he.
Yeah, it's. I think bitterness.
What's the meaning with the GU? I think it's the. Is it the European?
I think it's in the end. It's about the balance between, because we talk about IBUs. I mean, you can put shitload of IBUs in the beer, but in the end, it's about balance with the malt beer.
Yes, IBUs is a very, very misleading term, basically, because IBU. Okay, to gravity. Yes.
Yeah, there you go.
So gravity is like the sugary parts, and bitterness is the perceived bitterness. Bitterness is, or IBU in general, International Bitterness Units, is a technical measurement. So if we brew a beer, send it to the lab, get it analyzed, and then we get a value for it. And this value stands alone. But then you have the malt body to compare with it. That's probably what Jill is implying with the gravity rate, because the higher your sugar content, the darker your malts, causing also a higher gravity rate, the less perceived bitterness you will taste. So 60 IBU IPA might come over very bitter, but a 60 IBU stout might be just regular.
Yeah.
Because perceived bitterness is a totally different chapter than measured bitterness. So Jill, I hope that at least gives a little bit into your direction. We always need to find the balance between the gravity, so the sugars and the malts, and also the bitterness. But here at Stone, we are usually more on the bitterness side, while still trying to make a balanced beer.
I can imagine that the group at Stone, I think maybe just give the technical term of it, that is actually the bitterness unit and the gravity unit rate. So I think, of course, when you make a balanced beer like this, of course, you think about what's the gravity and what's the bitterness. So thanks for this question. And, well, we're learning it, of course, the gravity unit. Yeah. I don't know about you guys, but I have an empty glass.
My glass is empty as well. I think we should go to the next beer if there aren't any new questions about the Never Ending Haze IPA. So take another look at this lovely can. 60s, 70s, hippie vibes, straight from California. Any more questions? Or are you thirsty as well as we are for the next beer?
I think so.
So we shouldn't hesitate and probably give up to our brewmaster. And now we're going to Richmond, Virginia with Robert Kunz.
Yes.
Hi, my name is Robert Kunz. I'm the head brewer for Stone Brewing in Richmond, Virginia. And today I'm going to talk with you about a beer we make called Go-To Session IPA. This is a unique beer for us. It's a little lower ABV than what you're probably used to from some of our more aggressive Stone beers. It clocks in at 4.7 ABV. And it uses a special technique in the brew house called hop roasting. So the real star of the show in this beer is the Amarillo hop. It has an orange peel character to it. It's a little dank, a little resinous. Even has a bit of sweet onion that comes through in the background. And that's balanced in the brew kettle with a German hop, Magnum, that we use, has a bit of a spicy character, and Chinook, which comes from the Pacific Northwest in the U.S. Very classic hop. It's known for having a piney, resinous profile. And then we finish this beer in the whirlpool with Citra and Mosaic. We also dry hop with those hops. Citra has a very classic, in this case, lemon profile, and Mosaic provides a tropical note character. It's a remarkably balanced beer, super approachable, 4.7, easy to have two of them. In fact, the name of the beer comes from when the brewers in Escondido were making it and learning about it, commenting on it, saying, man, this beer is so easy to drink, it's going to be my go-to IPA. So we're going to have one right now. Open this guy up, pour him. I'll let you see what it looks like. So effervescent, yeah, yellow, more than straw, pale. We filter this beer, very clear. Good head on that guy. Man, you can just like smell that coming out of the can in the glass right now. You get all the pininess, resininess, lemon and orange coming through. Very balanced. Excellent malt background, super citrusy. Love this beer, love making it. I hope you enjoyed it too. Thanks for coming to learn more about Go-To IPA. We'll see you soon. Cheers.
Nice work with videos, man.
Lovely, lovely, lovely. Go-To IPA.
He was actually mentioning dank. I heard him saying dank.
This is, for me, it's dank as well. And dank, in this case, it's the combination of the sweet caramelized onions that he mentioned. So that green, oniony, sweet stuff compared with the more sweeter tropic notes of orange. This is dankness, and it's great. Smelling great. Very intense.
It's more bitter as well. When you compare it to the Never Ending Haze, this is, vibrant the word. It's, I mean, when I drink an IPA, I like it bitter.
Yeah, absolutely. Me too. So the Never Ending Haze, trying to be a hazy sort of New England kind of IPA, definitely goes down with the IBU and the bitterness. And now with the Go-To, we are back at original Stone strength bitterness. So we are up to 65 IBUs. So quite a punchy bitterness. And all that packed into a 4.7 still sessionable strength IPA.
Yeah, I think when you talk about the gravity and bitterness rate, I mean, this is what you just explained about Stone going towards the bitterness, the hoppy side of things, I would say. But still, it's bitter, but it's there's enough body as well to carry it.
Absolutely, absolutely. So yes, we have the bitterness for some, maybe starters who are new to all those IPAs and bitter beers. It might be a little bit over the top, but I can promise you you'll be there in just a bit, because bitter beers are in the end what makes an IPA an IPA. All those New England IPAs are great stuff. They are fun as well, but yes, the bitterness, it's all we want to have from the hops, and it's lovely if you can balance the hop oils, the hop aromatics alongside with the bitterness. And that's what I'm craving. That's what Stone is craving. And that's what made us big.
I absolutely love it. So there's, 3 types of hops in this one? 4?
No, we actually we play a little bit around with hops there. We usually use 8 to 10 different hops, and it's one of our most hop forward beers, at least in that low ABV strength area. And we use a technique called hop bursting.
Yeah. So
hop bursting basically means that we don't use any bittering hops in the early boiling stage, and we put a lot of hops in the late boil, aka the whirlpool, to extract as most of the oils from the hops. And we're getting a lot of bitterness as well, because we are still in the warm area and not in the dry hopping area. But with this hop bursting, we already get a lot of hop oils in the late boiling and whirlpool station of the brewing process, providing this perfect balance between bitterness and hop juice.
for the hops again, Amarillo, Citra, Mosaic, that's what I heard. And I guess I heard also Chinook, Magnum.
Yeah, we have a lot of the classic American sea hops, so Cascade, Chinook, Columbus, Citra, Crystal, alongside some more modern varieties like Masaka or Mosaic. We do have some Magnum, so a German, well, originally from German, but now grown in the US as well, German hop to give a little bit of a spicy background. And yes, then also Robert already said it, Amarillo. And Amarillo is a very, very like peachy, apricot, tropic hop oil, and this is shining through. I love it.
Yeah, bitter and juicy. Someone's life I see in the comments and on YouTube, that is.
Lovely. Yes, and Go-To actually is the beer we only brew for the export markets. So this is a beer we at the moment don't even sell in the US. So that's a beer we are currently only exporting.
Oh, really? What?
So this beer is currently only available outside of the US because we have a shift in, especially in the European countries, to more low ABV beers, and this beer is perfectly fitting into this trend to have a lower ABV beer, but still punchy and bitter and bringing all the flavors you want to have from IPA. But you can have 2 or 3 more cans a night than with a regular IPA is at 7% strength.
Yeah, that adds up. I read the other day that especially when you have like, well, you're on evening out, you want to have, I don't know, maybe 3, 4 beers, especially beers like this, then it's easier to move on.
Absolutely, can only agree there.
The alcohol, of course, adds up, and with this, and I think that's a perfect story. That this is your go-to IPA.
Yeah, the name basically implies it. It's the perfect day, perfect beer for every situation of the day. It's usually my post-ride beer. So when I go cycling and I come home thirsty, this is always my go-to choice because it's giving me the fruitiness. It's thirst quenching after a long ride, and I can drink a can and still feel pretty sober, and that's perfect.
Yeah, I see a couple of that bitterness is more competence of Stone. I love it. Yeah, me as well. That's so. I recognize it again when I'm drinking this. That bitter in the back that makes me want to have another sip. And that's the rough thing about an IPA. That clean bitter, but a firm bitter. That's what I want in an IPA.
Yeah, it makes you craving more. Yeah. The sticky bitterness, it's keeping there in your mouth, and even 10 minutes after a sip, you're like, "Oh, I need to drink more of it." It's dangerous at the same time, but that's what makes the beer like tasting perfect.
Yeah, and that's especially. I think also when it's tasting, so to say, when you smell it, then it's the fruity, hoppy things. Then your mouth's a little bit sweet, and then the bitterness coming in. I think that's a really nice experience of drinking a beer that, then it gives you all. So another question, what's the IBU on this?
The IBU on this is 65.
65. I think that's pretty high for a 4.7 beer.
So yeah, usually your IPAs start around 50 to 60 IBUs. So 65 is already above that. Yeah. We will go stronger with the next 2 beers. So even going to double IPA strengths IBU-wise, usually, but we are still ABV-wise in the regular IPA scheme, clearly showing that we at Stone, we love our bitterness, we love our hops, and we love a lot of them. And that's what's going into the beer as well and coming out.
Yeah, I mean, the West Coast IPA should be about firm, it's a firm bitter, a pretty strong bitter. To me, it's not really harsh. It's not like a bitter slap in the face because there's so much more to this for even in this less than 5% beer. Yeah, perfect beer in California. Yeah. But they don't see it in California. So we are in a perfect position now that we are in Europe to go to an IPA.
Absolutely, yeah. exclusive position.
Oh, that's great. We should.
Well, I guess they have a lot of other beer options, especially in our tap rooms as well. I'm sometimes jealous about all those lovely creations they get over there in Southern California that we Europeans don't get a taste from. But yeah, that's it. We can't export any beer, so we need to choose the best ones. And
Yeah. I've seen interesting questions from YouTube. Do you feel like you have to compromise when brewing sessional beers? And how do you make sure that the body of the beer is full enough and still keep a low ABV? So this is, I think, a question also about balancing beer out. This is clear towards the bitter and hoppy side of things. But do you guys feel that you have to compromise at some point in a sessional beer?
So definitely not compromise. Compromise is too negative connoted. It's actually a challenge for a brewer to brew a low ABV beer, but pack all the aromas of a higher ABV beer into a lower ABV beer. So to tackle this challenge and to improve your recipe to get a beer like the Stone Go-To IPA, this is definitely not compromise. It's more of a, if you're a brewer and you're working in your brewery all day long, you usually taste a few beers. And I can confirm that you usually stick to the lower ABV beers on a long day. So this is also a perfect beer for brewers in the brewery to have a sip in between shifts. And it's way more go-to to drink. And concerning the part of the body of the beer, yes, that's definitely a challenge. This is made off of all the components except for the hops maybe, but it's a play along between water, malt, and yeast because all of the three components add their parts into make body, especially the malt bill. So usually if you want to have a fuller body, you can imply some oats or wheat malts. We don't do this in the Go-To IPA, but we can play with some more lighter roasted malts, some crystal malts, some slightly caramelized malts to give a little bit more body than with just using pale malts. And if we get a little bit of them into the brew kettle, then we get a little bit of a more thicker body, and the yeast is then doing the rest.
Yeah, I think that's one of the barley malt. And still it has enough body towards the hoppy bitter side, what I do like, but still enough body to carry all those hops.
Absolutely.
So you're a big captain?
Here's the beer captain.
That's you, right?
Cheers.
All right. Well, my go-to is mine. I loved it.
My go-to beer as well. Could drink same as the Never Ending Haze. These low ABV beers, I see why there's a trend to low ABV beers because we all here on the stream, we love drinking beers. Otherwise, we wouldn't be here or working in the industry. And yeah, I can't drink like 4 double IPAs a night. Then that would kill me, especially if you're doing it on 2 or 3 consecutive days. So having these lower ABV options, but still packed with aroma, that's what making life easier.
Yeah, and better when at 7 in the morning you have to. So. All right. So talking about, well, I think these were the more seasonal ones. Now we go towards the more bold, heavier sort of things.
Yeah, we are going to ramp up the ABV, ramp up the bitterness, and we're going to start with the classic, the iconic West Coast IPA, or Stone IPA.
Yes.
Born in 1997. This was actually our first anniversary beer. So our anniversary is just around 2 weeks ago now. So our anniversary is in mid-August. we had to cancel our 21st anniversary celebration in the US due to the current situation worldwide, unfortunately. But we hope to be back with a banging party next year at our 25th anniversary. And yeah, Stone IPA is the first anniversary beer, and it's been the beer that paved our whole way to where we are today. It's what defines Stone. And we get a few words now from Jeremy Monnier, straight from the brewery, telling you about his favorite Stone beer.
Awesome.
How's it going, everybody? Jeremy Monnier here from Stone Brewing, Senior Manager of Innovation. Got one of my favorite beers of all time to share with you today. Stone IPA. So, our classic West Coast iconic beer. Cheers. Jump right into the beer. Right away, you get this really nice citrus, a little bit of dankness and resin, but a lot of citrus comes out. It's actually from hops, so we don't obviously add citrus into this beer, but one of the key hops in here is Centennial. We were one of the first breweries to really use Centennial on a broad scale, and to this day I still really love this hop, and when it's really good, it gives you a lot of balloon and bright citrus notes. Yeah, and those citrus notes really follow through the flavor as well. Get a lot of lemon, there's some lime, some tropical notes as well, a little bit of melon. Yeah, and really nice amount of bitterness too. Not too bitter, but enough just to kind of lift everything up. And actually with that amount of bitterness, it makes you want to drink more. You know, the recipe has pretty much stayed the same throughout the years. We tweaked it a little bit, but basically stayed really true to what we were initially trying to do, which was make just a really fantastic IPA. And this is what we got, a really beautiful, iconic West Coast IPA. Cheers to you guys. Thank you very much. Thanks for the support.
Cheers, Jeremy.
Cheers, Jeremy, indeed. Yes, till today, so even 23 years later, Stone IPA is our most sold beer. It's the all-time favorite of Team Stone. It's the iconic West Coast IPA. It's a beer that basically defined the style of West Coast IPAs, of the piney, resinous body and the citrus hoppiness.
I think that what I really like about the West Coast IPA, and I think what you just stated, that's true. This is one of the style icons. This is an icon of the, well, it's not for nothing. We call this the iconic IPA from Stone, which it is. When you look at it, it's not orange, light orange, yellowish.
Yeah, like orange, golden, yellowish.
I'm not a star with colors. I mean, I'm not a painter or something, but it's there's also this little malty backbone. What I really love about West Coast IPAs, that give this little hint of biscuit or cookies.
Yeah, biscuit, toasted bread, malt sweetness.
But especially because it's in the background, and of course, this is West Coast IPA. It's all about the hops. That's enough of the...
Yeah, all about the hops, but also a bit of the balance. You mentioned the malty backbone, and it's there, it's present. Without the malty backbone, this would be just a hoppy bitter drink, and you need the backbone basically to support the hops, and Stone IPA embodies this in perfection in my way, and that's why it's, for some, it's too simple nowadays. But back then, in 1997, when we released it, it was the most challenging and most bitter IPA, because back then you haven't had many IPAs. you had a lot of pale ales around, but not that like heavy bitterness IPAs, and it paved the way for stronger and bigger and bolder beers. That's why it might be considered a bit simple nowadays, but it's just all about right, and that's sometimes the key, simpleness.
Yeah, and I know what you're saying, but and on the other hand, I think it's really nice to taste those classics like this, and then you can still taste it. I don't know, simple is, to me, it's not the right word, because it's really balanced beer. And the first thing you notice is the hops, but then what you just discussed, there's also this malty backbone with the thickness, the caramel things that makes it a little bit more complex. And yeah, 71 IBU, is that right?
Yeah, that's correct.
Yeah, and we have.
But now again, for me, it feels less bitter than the go-to IPA before, which was 6% less. But now we have the stronger malty backbone, so more sweetness from the malts, and then the perceived bitterness is lower again. So that's why you can't always rely on the IBU terms. They are just measurements.
Yeah.
You need to taste and define by yourselves.
Exactly. I think it's just something. I think it's always nice to know, but of course, it's all about.
Yeah, it gives you a slight direction at least.
Yeah. So, what do you think is a good pairing? I think Jamie means a food pairing. What's a good food pairing with an IPA like this? Do you what?
Oh, I do love to drink my IPAs to pizza and burger. Actually, I had a pizza right before our stream tonight, and I already had an IPA alongside the pizza, because for me it's a perfect pairing. A pizza and then the fresh fruity and bitterness punching in there, but also burgers. Burgers is just, you have this thick meat and juicy meat with a umami taste along it, and then you have the fruitiness of the beer and the bitterness. It's just playing alongside perfect.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think with hamburgers, because when your burger is from the barbecue, then you really have this toastiness on your burger, which matches the toastiness in the beer, which is slightly, and then because the saltiness, it will bring the bitterness slightly down, so the beer will become even more fruity, and then it's a party of flavors to me. The burger with an IPA, especially a classic West Coast IPA, can't go wrong there.
Absolutely. The bitterness just harmonizes with the meat.
Yeah, exactly. And I think in general, some like salt and bitter work always for me, because it brings the bitterness slightly down, it balances it even more out, and then it's a great combination. So when you have this hearty, salty, even a cheeseburger, then it's a little bit flat, and that's especially because this is quite an intense beer. Because of the bitterness, because of the hops. So I think when you talk about food pairing, it's always first step is matching intensity. And this can make a pretty strong, heavy burger. What doesn't make it?
Can't agree more. Because with the strong bitterness, you can't pair it with some lighter foods like a salad or some fish. It wouldn't match because the bitterness is too overweighing. So you need a bit more of a fatty dish, and in that case, a burger is just perfect.
Yeah, I totally. I think when you have to do a light meal, then the beer will power everything, and then. But when there's someone on the stream saying, "Yeah, I love it with fish or a light meal." Of course. Why not? Let us hear.
Well, also great to pair with if you're pairing beer and cheese. Try pairing a stronger, like a Roquefort, like a blue cheese alongside an IPA. That's also going perfectly because it harmonizes as well. The bitterness is like cutting through the sharp notes of a blue cheese. That's a perfect combo as well.
Yeah, and also a piece of your taste bud, because it's both pretty intense and it's lovely. So there is something about Centennial hops. Jeremy shared. Is this mainly continual hop or is this again 10 plus?
No, so our Stone IPA is also embodying the classic C hops. So we have Chinook, Centennial, also some Magnum for bitterness. But we also use, since this is a little change since the original recipe, but since like 10 years already, we're using some Australian hops. So we're using Ella and Vic Secret. Because those Australian hops, they give a really, really nice tropic and especially dry fruitiness. Because with the Northwest American juicy, fruity hops, you have a lot of sweetness alongside as well. And those Ella and Vic Secret, the Australian hops, they give a lot of dryness. And that's what we want to have in a West Coast IPA. A West Coast IPA doesn't want to have a sticky sweetness to it. It wants to be dry and bitter in the finish. And those hops can provide this in a good way.
Yeah, it's clean, bitter finish that goes boom. Yeah. Makes you want to take another sip again. What was mentioned with Jeremy as well. Another question from YouTube. What malts are in this one?
What malts? So we do have some classic 2-row malts from the US. The malt bill is pretty simple, actually. You have quite a pale beer, just some barley malts, lightly roasted, quite pale malts. Really, the malt is only the backbone in here. It's not the big player. If you want to check deeper on the malts, try our website. I think we have the malts mentioned over there. It's 2-row malts, which is a standard pale malt in the US. And we have, I think we have a little bit of crystal malt inside as well. And yeah.
I think, yeah, of course, it's a simple malt bill because in the end, but that's the thing that I love. I keep repeating myself about beers like this. That, it might be simple, but the difference then is in the details. Just you need this little caramel roasted. It's not roasted. It's just this caramelized notes. This little toasted cookie thing going on. That's what you need in a West Coast IPA like this.
Yeah, as you said, the malt bill or the whole recipe might be simple, but to combine it in the perfect way, to have it as the product that comes out like this is a challenge for the brewmaster, and to keep that on a constant level for 23 years now, this is a challenge, and I think we still hit it with our Stone IPA.
I think part of the challenge is also tweaking the recipe. I wouldn't say changeable. I think throughout the years, you found out, oh, this Ella or this big secret hop from Australia just gives this little tweak that we need in the beer. And I think that's true. I think you as a brewer to just keep your iconic IPA as iconic how it was meant to be.
Yes, and that's part of the whole craft philosophy as well. Never be like satisfied. Always try to improve. Even though we brew this recipe for 23 years now, we always try to like tweak tiny twists to keep it, to make it even better and more consistent and more punchy, more intense. And that's a challenge for brewers. See what's developing on the market, take in new hop varieties and combine them with the others to still get the same flavor than before, but also a more punchiness behind it.
Yeah, talking about the IPA market, nowadays you see a lot of New England style beers. So the question from Facebook is, because Stone IPA is your flagship IPA, right? It's your iconic IPA.
It's our flagship IPA. It's the iconic. It's also most selling beer. It's the team's all favorite. Yeah.
Is there still something New England IPA is coming from you guys, or is this your focus as a brewery?
We are experimenting a lot with New England styled IPAs as well, especially over in the US in our as I mentioned before, pilot brewery systems. We did some more New England orientated beers this year, as the Viking Space Probe and the Peak Conditions IPA. A few kegs of Viking Space Probe came over to Europe as well, but they've been mostly distributed to the Scandinavian countries for this year. Our Film Movie Lions is returning next month. The Film Movie Lions is an 8.5% double IPA, kind of a East Coast, West Coast hybrid, because we're Stone. We don't like the juice approach that much. We always want to have our bitterness in it. But yeah, we keep on experimenting as well with New England IPAs, and especially for the export markets, it's a little bit difficult as well, because New England IPAs, they live from their freshness and their intense hoppiness. So it's not the best beer to actually export in a larger scale, unless you like air freight or air ship it, but then the prices will be way, way higher. So this is not an option for the moment. Same as our Born to Die beers. We get a lot of customers from Europe here asking about our regular Born to Die IPAs. So these are beer IPAs we designed to drink in the 3 months after bottling on after release. And these are just beers we can't bring over to Europe, because it's just against the kind of the style of the beer itself, because we want our fans to enjoy it in the best and freshest way possible. And these beers are not made for it. With our regular IPAs, they are fine, because they are in cans, they are light protected, they are oxygen protected. They hold up easily 6-9 months and still have the punchy bitterness. That's also part of brewing process, to brew beers that have still the same punchy bitterness and punchy hop oils after 6 months in a can. And that's hard to master as well. And that's what our everyday challenges as well. So we try to stick to improve those and keep the fresh New England IPAs for our US tap rooms for the moment. So come over to San Diego and enjoy some fresh Stone New England IPAs over there.
All right, I'm going to buy it. But in the end, I think what I do love about Stone still is that, when you talk about your go-to IPA, I have several, but this is one of my go-to IPAs, because this is the classic West Coast, and I'm never bored out of this. Also because it's not too overcomplicated. This is a straightforward IPA like I want it, and it just provides me the body I want, the happiness I want, the bitterness I want, and yeah, that's what I love in the West Coast IPA.
Yes, absolutely. Yes, go to definitely, but not on a daily basis. Then I always go to our go-to IPA. But I like to have the IPA with food. So the go-to IPA is a beer I always like to drink in between as well. But the IPA I usually pair to my dinner, and then I can agree. Then it's a go-to option as well. It's.
I mean, I have non-beer drinking days because I need that. But I love to enjoy a good beer, and then this is just a good, solid IPA that I always love. So that's. I mean, now there's so much to choose, and I need some solid options, and well, this is a solid option.
Yes, and it's always great to come back to have this beer. So if you're tasting throughout the whole world of IPAs out there are so many varieties nowadays. In the end of the day, I always come back to beers like the Stone IPA because it has all I want to.
Yeah,
I love those fancy experimentations, but in the end, that's what the style is. That's what an American West Coast IPA should taste like, and that's what defines, for me at least, a true IPA. In the modern way, not talking old English IPAs, but this is what I'm coming back to after a week of drinking experimental New England IPAs and all that stuff, because I always know how this will taste and how this will deliver, and it's just bringing all the aromas and bitterness I want to have.
I'm totally with you on that. Yeah, I think another comment on Facebook, and I think that's points it out. I think we, especially after the go-to IPA, then you notice that it's bitter, West Coast, but it's still very balanced with the malty backbone, and that makes it a great beer.
Yeah, absolutely. So Rainier, you're asking about bigger and bolder aspects of IPAs and limits to it. I actually wanted to tease it at the end of the show, but we can tease it now already if we're already talking IPAs, because we will bring 2 more bigger and bolder IPAs to Europe in November and December. Building up on our reputation of big and bold IPA. So we will bring back Stone Ruination IPA in its second evolvement. So the Stone Ruination 2.0 sans filtre. So it's non-filtered double IPA, clocking in at 8.5%, up to 90 IBU. And it's the successor of our first Ruination, brewed back in 2002, when it was the first year all-around brewed and bottled double IPA, and still a favorite for many double IPA drinkers. And then we are also bringing back our triple IPA. So back in 2012, we released Ruin 10, which was a triple IPA with a 10% ABV. And now we took the recipe of the Ruination and even amped up the malt bill to bring you Stone Ruined Again. And Stone Ruined Again is clocking in at 10.8% ABV. So this will be a heavy banger. So with triple IPAs, that strengths, and still keeping to try to have the balance, that's another challenge for brewers. There are triple IPAs 12%.
I love IPAs, and it makes me want more about those beers, and it's distracting me from what they're doing now.
Yeah, so we might need to do another double strength IPA tasting in the winter time.
Maybe. There's common questions about this topic. First, what does the double and triple stand for? Is it the volume of the malt bill, or is it something else?
No, the malt bill is, of course, you need to increase your malt bill if you want to brew a stronger beer, because the more sugar from the malts, the more nutrition for the yeasts, aka the more ABV in the end. But double and triple actually is like defining the strengths ABV wise. So if we're talking regular IPA, we usually moving in the area between 5.5 up to 8%. Everything about 8 to 10% would be a double IPA, and then above 10% we call it triple IPA. And this is like general common in the brewing world, just to give people a guideline on strengths. And then you have the session IPAs like the Never Ending Haze before and the Go-To we had earlier. They are clocking in then between the 5.5% of a regular IPA. Cool. So it's nothing actually to do with the malt bill. We don't double the malt or we don't triple the malt. That's not even technically possible to bring that many kilograms of malt into your brewing kit.
All right. That's clarifies it. And looking forward to the new beers, because nowadays you only brew in the US, right?
Mm-hmm.
Everything is from the US.
Yeah, correct.
Yeah.
So we brewed the last beers here in Europe last year in November, and these beers should be off the shelves by now mostly, and now it's completely back to the export. We brew fresh beers in Escondido, but also, like mentioned in our About Stone video in the beginning, we do have a big new facility since 2015 in Richmond, in Virginia, at the East Coast. and that's where most of our export beer is being brewed, because the distance from the East Coast is obviously way shorter and quicker than from the West Coast. And as we are still now in the complete transaction process, we are still working on getting the beer over to Europe fresher and fresher. But this is just takes a little bit of time to implement. So the first beers that arrived were already 4 months old. That's not what we are striving for. They were still perfect, but we want to have them fresher over. So starting in the next months, all the beers should be a maximum of 8 weeks old, which is basically pretty fresh off the canning line.
Yeah.
And then be routed across Europe.
And there's also a question about the logo, what I'm seeing as well on YouTube, where the logo comes from, but I also see an answer. The question is, what's the logo, where does it come from? And the answer on YouTube is the gargoyle protects stone and the beer. That's it, right?
Yeah, that actually sums it up pretty good. That's a good point. That's something we might need to add to our About Stone video as well, to have it in there. Yeah, the gargoyle is it's our patron, it's our guardian, it's the guy who is always watching us 24/7. He's making sure that our beer is protected from the modern day evils of the brewing industry. So he's checking that we don't use any kind of chemical additives, that we don't pasteurize our beer, that we are keeping natural ingredients in our beer. So we don't like to work with aromas or anything else. And that's what our gargoyle stands for. He's protecting us, he's watching over us, and he's symbolizing the independence and the strength in stone in our beers.
Thanks to YouTube. I think you summed it up pretty good, and I think it's a nice story as well. I really want to go to the last one. Firstly, the last one, but I think it's a really interesting one. What about you?
I'm good. I'm just cleaning and rinsing my glass. So you guys ready as well?
I prefer so, Tangerine Express.
Tangerine Express, and that's a beer as well, created and developed by Steve Gonzalez, our small batch brewer. He created this beer for a beer event back in 2016, and it was a straight hit within our team, and we made it a big batch, an all year round batch in the next year. So let's hear what he's telling us about the beer.
Right.
I'm Steve Gonzalez, Senior Manager of Brewing and Innovation for Stone Brewing Company. Tangerine and pineapple was something I wanted to play with for a really long time. We had some tropical fruit hops in there. We added 8 different hop varieties to this beer, along with the tangerine and pineapple. We like to emphasize that we use all of that tangerine in there. We use the pith, we use the zest, we use the juice. The pineapple is a little bit of a back note here, but also it really is whole pineapple. 6.7% alcohol. It's very hoppy. Lots of flavors, lots going on in this beer. Definitely tangerine forward, hence the name Tangerine Express. Oh yeah, fresh tangerine juice, the tangerine oil from the zest. When this beer is really, really fresh too, it's just those hops really pop. And you get the complete package here. There's a lot going on in this beer. But, you know, the final product is just, it's as close to perfect as it comes. This is a beer for fruit beer lovers and IPA hopheads as
well. Oh, yes.
Yeah. So, this was actually how you invented it, right?
Once again, please. Cheers.
Steve invented this beer, right?
Yes, Steve invented this beer. It's one of his babies from the small batch brewing kit in Escondido. And he told me it's one of his favorites still up till today. Yeah, because it packs all the fruitiness into the beer. And we call it not only Tangerine Express, but also Vacation Express, because this beer is like straight transporting into a deserted island, somewhere where you have like 24 hours of sunshine, where you can sip on this beer all day long on the beach, crystal blue water.
So there's what, 8 hop varieties in there. What's the story about the 8 or 10 hop varieties?
Yes, 8 or 10 hop varieties. It's creating a hop bill is a lot of experimenting. You can do single hop IPAs. You can do IPAs with 2 or 3 hops. Sometimes 8 or 10 hops don't deliver more aroma or depth than 3 hops, but sometimes it just gives a little bit more twist and tweaks over here and there. And especially in this beer, we have the tangerine and the pineapple puree, fresh pureed fruits, the whole fruits in there. And they bring in a lot of flavor as well. And to counterbalance those flavors, to make it more balanced, we need to use different hops to create a more balanced beer. And that's why we experimented with different hops. And that's why we achieved to have like, I think it's 7 hops in total that we have in here, or might be 8. But they take up all the other aspects of the malt and the fruits to make it more balanced. And every hop is different. And if we might leave one out, it might be a different beer. So for a balance, it's sometimes necessary to have more hops or more different hop varieties in your final beer.
There's a question on Facebook, which is really 75 IBUs.
It is 75 IBUs. So it might be your perceived bitterness that you like bitter beers, and that it might taste easy for you. But once again, bitterness perceived is very individually. Everyone takes it in differently. So for you, it might taste like 60 IBU. For others, it might taste like 80 IBU. But in general, I agree with you. It's not that heavy bitter because we have a lot of sweet fruit aromas and sweet malt aromas to back up the bitterness. And that's what I was talking about before, a bit of balance. Yes, we put a lot of hops inside. These hops give bitterness, but we need those to counterbalance also the sweetness of the whole fruit puree inside. And that's what makes it, in the final product, a very balanced beer.
Yeah. What I do like about this beer, that sometimes when I see a beer like this, then I think, well, it's added fruit, and that's not. I mean, it's interesting, but usually I go for non-fruited beers, and I'm okay. Now this is like again, there's some artificial flavors in there. This actually is an IPA. It's bitter. It has a fruity note. It's not overpowering fruity. It is exactly what I love about this one. That this is still an IPA. This is for IPA lovers with exactly the right amount of matching fruits in there.
Yeah, fruits to use in your beer is very difficult to as you said, to embody them, that they don't like overpower the beer, that they don't come over artificially. A lot of modern breweries use fruited IPAs, but they also use lactose to make like sort of milkshake IPAs. That's all tasting good, but not perfect in my opinion. And with the Tangerine Express, we still have that very, very intense West Coast IPA body beneath it, and then just the right amount of fruits to give that fruity punch that the hops can't provide us in total. And yeah.
Yeah, and I think that's exactly what makes it as well. This is a bold beer again. So what I was also wondering about the hops, because um, I saw on YouTube a clip one time, a video about guys brewing an IPA, and they were talking about the three bucket rule, that an IPA should just have three types of hops for the.
I saw that video as well.
Yeah, I mean, for crossbreed. One for the base layer for the full-on flavors, and then a medium layer for filling the gap in the bold notes, and then a top layer for little hints. And I explained that, and I thought, okay, that makes sense. And then we Steve, explaining we use 7 or 8 hop varieties in this beer. So I'm not saying that one is good and one is wrong, but this is an interesting thing then going on. One brewer chooses max 3, and the other one goes, no, we want to cook it until it's perfect with 8 hop varieties.
Yeah, it's different approaches basically. I was surprised by this sticking to that 3 hop rule, but it makes sense to give a balanced beer, to have a straight line. And to be honest, we do have kind of our base hop bill in most of our IPAs as well. So it's mostly like traditional Northwest American hops that build the base on our IPAs. And then we just add on some twists and tweaks concerning the IPA and where we want to have it to go. So you have kind of like a fruit layout or a taste layout in your head, and that's where you want to go. And especially with beers like this, where we add different components as well, that's changing also the hops and how they are perceived in beer. So that's when we might need to get away from the 3 hops rule or 5 hops rule and use more different hop varieties to bring more depths and more straight hop flavorness.
Yeah, it's interesting. I also heard people say at another project we did with single hop beers, and there was this guy. He's a hop trader, and he said when you use too much hop varieties, then it becomes gray. It's like mixing too much colors together. Is there your point of view on that?
Absolutely, and it also depends on the amounts you're putting in. So it's not like when we have 7 hops that from those 7 hops, like now I'm bad with percentages. Let's take 5 hops. And 5 hops, not every 5 hops make up 20% of the hop bill. So it's like we have also our base hops, like 3 hops that making up of 80%. And then we add some more different hop varieties to add twists and tweaks here and there. So the common rule to stick to some ground hops that build all the base for your aroma in the beer, that's what I can totally agree with. And that's what basically every brewer is doing, because throwing in too many different hops, as you said, it's blurring out, graying out, and you don't get the specific hop aromas anymore. And they might even battle each other and counter each other. So combining different hop flavors isn't always that easy. So you have hops that work together like very smoothly, and then you have hops that you can't put in that hop bill. And a lot of modern day hops, which are pretty centered to specific hop aromas, like take a Brew 1 hop that's very pineapple forward, or take a Sabro with some coconut vibes to it. These are hops you don't want to use with too many other hops, because then their distinctive hop aroma is not blending in with the others perfectly. But with all our Stone IPAs, at least the core IPAs, we stick to the traditional Northwest American hops, so the classic C hops and the classic aroma hops like Mosaic, Citra, Simcoe, and those hops go along very good together. So that's why we can throw in like 6, 8, even 10, like in the go-to, at the same time, and still have a straight hop profile.
Because I mean, you guys you're so much into hops, so I mean that's what we know as well. That I think in every day we taste today, tonight you clearly taste Stone signature that it's boldy hop. It's about hop forward beers, but still balanced and drinkable. So, and I think it's a good thing that you have this signature base layer of hops, maybe.
Yes, absolutely, and it's also every hop is different every year. So you always have to adjust your hop bills as well per crop, as hops are harvested only once a year. So you need to adjust your hop bills every now and then, and especially if you want to keep a distinctive certain flavor of beers, you might need to add another hop a year later in the brew to get that whole flavor pattern again, because some of the hops from the harvest the year before were higher in those aroma flavors. So this is always a try and matching flavor thing for brewers to experiment with.
Yeah, I think that's when you talk about tweaking your recipe. I mean, you cannot keep the recipe every year the same because it's a natural product. Then, so at 1 year your hop harvest might be slightly different, the malt harvest might be slightly different. So then you have to tweak your recipe to, in the end, deliver the product you want.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, Stone-related question, not to the IPA, but do you have a stout in your portfolio?
Yes, we're talking IPAs all day today. That's the topic of our stream, of our package, and that's what Stone is known for. But yes, we do a lot of IPAs, a lot of stouts as well, or dark beers in general. Actually, the second ever beer released by Stone, so the first beer we released in 1996 was a Stone Pale Ale, and the second beer we released in 1996 was a smoked porter, so a dark beer as well. So it's not like we've always been brewing hoppy and IPA beers. No, we've been experimenting with like almost any style since the beginning. Currently, for the export, we do have one stout in our portfolio, and that's actually coming now, or returning now, as it's our winter season beer. It's our Christmas holiday beer. It's our Stone Chocovesa. The Chocovesa is like Mexican hot chocolate inspired beer. We do have an imperial stout, strong in ABV. We do add cocoa, chocolate. We do add a hint of chili and a hint of vanilla. It's a very, very complex aromatic beer, and it's just perfectly fitting the Christmas season. So Chocovesa is returning in a new can design as well. So in the last couple of years, it's been green, sort of greenish from the color. It's now turning to more gray orange kind of thing. But it will definitely return this year, and I'm already looking forward to it. It's a lovely beer.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, well, I think we have also a nice outro by Greg, right? Last video. And last thing now to mention, we still have a competition running on Instagram. Please share your tasting situation, how you're sitting behind your laptop, your TV, whatever. Tag Beerwulf webshop, tag Stone Europe, and show us how you're tasting this, and then you can win a great well, how we call this, a goodie bag with some Stone shirts. There's the hat in there. So please share that. And I think then we go to Greg for some final words.
Yes, exactly. And if you want to follow up along the competition Nathan just mentioned, we've already posted it in the Facebook event page as well. So double check over there, because we won't post that publicly anywhere else. It's only for you guys who are watching the stream and are looking into the event page. Take a look over there. There are the guidelines, and then we pick a winner in the next 48 days, 48 hours. And we'll contact you via Instagram. And now I am handing over to Craig Koch, our CEO and co-founder again, for some final words.
I hope you enjoyed those beers. I tell you, the world of IPAs is so wide and varied, and it feels like a playground that we get to go to every day. And of course, when I open my refrigerator, well, that's its own kind of playground, isn't it? So, I hope you enjoyed our classic West Coast style IPA, Stone IPA, the beer we're the most famous for. The Stone Go-To IPA, our hop bursted session IPA. Stone Never Ending Haze IPA, our newest hazy style IPA. And of course, Stone Tangerine Express IPA, brewed with whole tangerine and pineapple for that real fruit flavor kick. And what's more, we've got new beers that we're going to be sending your way, including the famous Stone Ruination Double IPA, Sans Filtre. Of course, we love experimentation beyond the world of IPAs as well. And that would include, right here, the Stone Buena Vesa Salt and Lime Lager. I'll tell you, this beer is completely unlike anything else that we've done. And this is what you get when you have creative ingredients brewed with true authenticity. We do not pull back from the greatest possibilities in the world of beer. And this, a Baja-style lager with salt and lime added in the brewing process. Well, I hope you give it a try. Frankly, it's one of my new favorites. So, from me, Greg Cook, co-founder of Stone Brewing, thank you for joining us on this journey, and I hope to see you soon. Cheers.
Nice final word. He's almost like the I'm going to say this properly, like the Stone Jesus of things.
I love his laugh.
Yeah.
This feeling you have sitting down, enjoying a good beer, and it's just summing up like the whole evening and the whole experience drinking good beers.
Yeah, totally. If there's any last question, you can give the time to share it. I'm still have a little bit of Tangerine Express. What about you, Moritz?
I'm still sipping on my Tangerine Express as well. Just poured the last bits, and it's lovely.
Oh, it's lovely. Yeah.
But I think I'm going to join Greg as well afterwards and having a can of the Buena Vista Salt and Lime Lager, just to calm down and clean down. Yes, we're doing lagers as well. Easy 4.7% lager. Trying to be sort of inspired by Mexican lagers. Don't want to name names, but the name is quite around at the moment in other topics. But we do add our Stone Twist again. We do add some lime and salt in the brewing process already, and not putting the lime in afterwards. If you see it around, give it a try. It's a lovely lager. And lagers are making their way back, especially in the US. Over here in Europe, we already had a good lager scene, but now the Americans are digging lager as well. And this is a perfect summer refresher. The salt and lime are just giving him a little nice hint of twist.
Yeah, we should do a lager tasting at one time. Talking about next tasting, of course, at Beerwulf, we will continue doing Yeah, we need to get more lagers. Yeah, well, at some point we will do more tastings like this. Keep our social channels, keep your eyes peeled for that, and at some point we will do that. I think we're coming to an end to this tasting. Maurice, thank you very much, and thank you everyone who joining us. Thank you for all the questions. I see now it's coming together in talks. Well, we have the go-to IPA and the classic which is available for the 12 liter keg. Yeah, well, thanks a lot for this tasting, and I really enjoyed these IPAs. I think you guys some rock IPAs, and that's exactly what we taste here. So thanks a lot, and thanks everyone for joining.
Yes, thanks, Mason. Thanks, Beerwulf, for having us as guests. Thanks to everyone who followed our live stream on Facebook and YouTube. Stay creative, try good beers, stay positive, and cheers from me as well.
Nice words. Cheers, Maurice. See you around.
Cheers, Nathan. Guys, have a good night, and hope to see you soon. Cheers. Goodbye. Bye.